Hey friends, welcome back to another UFD Tech video. Today, I wanted to go ahead and discuss everything that's coming up with the Ryzen 3000 launch that we should expect this coming Sunday on July 7th, because there's going to be a lot of information out there about all of the different chips, and on top of that, not only is AMD launching the Ryzen 3000 chips, they're also launching Navi, so you're going to have at least, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 CPUs launching and 2 graphics cards all on the same day. And what I wanted to do with this video, especially because AMD isn't sending us a review sample, is go over everything that we know about it so far and the comparison benchmarks that we have out there, because there's been plenty that have come out in the last couple of weeks to give us a good idea of the performance of each of the chips that's coming out for Ryzen 3000. So we'll do that after I tell you about today's video sponsor. Friends, today's video is brought to you by Honey. They sponsored this video, especially after we found out they existed, because they save you a whole butt ton of money. They've saved me money, because what they do is they go out on the internet and they scour it to find the best deals for whatever you're trying to buy. And then there's just a little browser extension in the top right-hand corner of whatever web browser you're using that says, hey, there's a coupon code here, save your cash. And it's just like, thank you, Honey. I just saved money. You guys can have that freedom too. The best thing is it works at over 37,000 different shops. You got Best Buy, you've got Amazon, you've got the Linus Tech Tips merch store. Fun fact. And there's no extra steps. Once you have the browser extension installed, which is just 2 clicks to get installed, you're off to the races. You just save me money, and it does it. It's like it costs you no time or effort whatsoever. Over 10 million people are already using Honey, and you could be one of them by going to joinhoney.com/UFDtech. There's really no reason not to use Honey. It's free to use and is easy to install on your computer, just 2 clicks. So shop with confidence and get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/UFDtech. Again, that's joinhoney.com/UFDtech. Okay, so yes, I am not getting a Ryzen 3000 chip. I contacted our local AMD South African rep, and they said that AMD has allocated exactly 0 review units for South Africa, and there is no way that I could possibly get one. So I will have to pick one up at retail just like everybody else. We do happen to have an X570 board courtesy of ASRock, but you can't really test an X570 without the new CPUs that are meant to go alongside it. So I'm stuck here just kind of hoping that I will get a chip at some point, which I definitely will. However, that doesn't mean that we don't have any indication of how these CPUs are going to perform. And if you've been keeping up with hot news, which we have moved to its own channel, which you can check out up there or down in the description, subscribe to that if you want to, we've gotten so many different benchmarks. And in fact, we've had a leaked benchmark for every single one of the 5 different CPUs that AMD is going to be launching. The most prolific is the Ryzen 5 3600. There has been a full leaked review by El Chapuza's Informatico, and then on top of that, we've also had actually the most information outside of the 3600 on the 3950X, which isn't launching until September. It's not launching on Sunday, so it's a little weird there, but the main thing that I wanted to give you guys to help out everybody who might be considering a Ryzen 3000 CPU is this helpful chart that was composed by somebody over on the hardware subreddit. They are typically one of the people who evaluates motherboards, and they've compiled a brand new chart that shows you whether or not a given motherboard will be compatible with Ryzen 3000. From the 3600 all the way up to the 3950X, will this motherboard actually be proper for it? Not can you put it in the socket, but will the VRM layout and the vCore setup for the motherboard actually support, say, a 3950X, with some of them being totally fine for a 3950X at stock, but then not having the ability to overclock the 3950X. So in case you want that, that'll be linked in the video description. Super helpful chart. If you're on X370, X470, B450, what have you, you'll be able to see whether or not you can support a Ryzen 3000 chip. So from all of the leaked information that we have on the internet from all of the CPUs, what we can see is that basically every single chip that Intel has besides the 9900K, you no longer need to buy them. That is the general conclusion. I'm pretty confident saying that, looking at all of the Cinebench scores, the gaming benchmarks that have come out, as well as other benchmarks that have leaked. The 8700K and the 9700K both get beaten by the Ryzen 3000 chips, from the 3600 all the way up to the 3950X. The 9900K is still mostly able to retain the top spot as the best CPU that is out there at stock, and probably as well as overclocked, but let's talk about that right now. So covering the most popular chip first, at least what I assume would be the most popular chip, $200, Ryzen 5 3600, 6 cores, 12 threads. Its Cinebench score beats the 9700K pretty dang easily. It's still a little bit behind on the single-threaded score. What we see is we have a score of 197, but its multi-threaded score definitely beats what is happening with the 9700K. In fact, what we see is that the Cinebench score is better than the original first-gen Ryzen 7 1800X. It's just slightly below the 2700X when it comes to multi-threaded, but its single-threaded score is basically above the best of them. And then if you care at all about pass mark scores, what we find is that a stock 3600 can beat a 9900K there. The Geekbench 4 score for the 3600 is also really dang impressive. And then the full review from El Chapuza's Informatico shows that it is on par with the 9900K in some games, but it's 100% on par with the 2700X in all games. So a $200 CPU being the replacement for a $330 CPU is quite a value proposition from AMD there. Unfortunately, when it comes to the 3600X, which is just the slightly overclocked brother of the 3600, there's not that much information besides a user benchmark score, which shows that the 9900K is about 11% faster than the 3600X. The 3600X is equivalent to the 8700K in all of the testing that they did for the user benchmark. So that's pretty dang good as well. The 3700X comes in with a bit more data behind it. The Geekbench score is performing pretty well. It's still slightly behind the 9900K when it comes to single core score, but it beats it in other multi-threaded performance tasks such as 3D Mark Firestrike, coming in at about 500 points higher in Firestrike Extreme, and then mostly beating it at everything at stock in all of the other 3D Mark tests. Then the only data that I could find on the 3800X, which is going to be the $400 chip from them, actually isn't all that impressive. It has the lowest single core score out of all of them, but this could be because it was submitted on June 17th, which is a while ago. Its multi-core score is still really good, but it's not that impressive. However, there hasn't been much leakage of the 3800X. The 3900X, however, has seen some pretty dang impressive performance, including a Cinebench score that is the highest single core score that they have, which is 5,900 points. The multi-core score absolutely destroys anything that the 9900K could hope to offer at the exact same price, because we're looking at two $500 chips here. And then there's a recent leak showing that the 3900X was able to overclock to 4.5 gigahertz, and we presume it's on normal cooling, not liquid nitrogen or anything exotic. A 3900X, a 12-core, 24-thread AM4 platform CPU coming in at 4.5 gigahertz overclockable, whereas something like the 2700X, my best overclock on that is 4.2 gigahertz, which is mostly unstable, and that's as far as I could go. 4.5, an extra 300 megahertz on top of the fact that AMD is claiming a 15% IPC improvement would put the 3900X as the best $500 CPU that you could possibly get for all workloads considering. It might not beat the 9900K in gaming, but in terms of value and what you would get outside of gaming, because this would be a content creator's chip, you would honestly see so much better performance from getting that over picking up a 9900K. And then we have a ton of 3950X benchmarks. It seems like AMD has seeded these out to reviewers. It could be that we might get a review of these on July 7th, but as far as what they said, they're not being released on retail until September. However, what we see is that it's been able to be overclocked to 5.2 gigahertz, likely on liquid nitrogen. It beats a 9980XE, which is Intel's $2,000 chip, in a whole bunch of different tests, both in single core and multi-core, and then it has an insane Cinebench R15. So what we see from all of this and what we can draw from this is, one, Ryzen 3000 is actually going to probably be as good as AMD has said it is. It might not be exactly 15% in all scenarios, but a decent indication is 10 to 13% better than the Ryzen 2000 series. And considering that the price points are coming down, you can get this equivalent performance performance in single-threaded and in gaming from a $200 chip as you could from the 2700X, it looks like AMD has made some really good moves. I honestly think that the Ryzen 5 3600 is going to be the chip that everybody is going to buy. Any person who has a reasonable budget, the 3600 will be in their system, and considering that the TDP and the power draw of these chips will be the same or lower than 2000 series, thanks to AMD going to 7 nanometers, you don't actually need that many motherboard upgrades to pick up the Ryzen 5 3600, especially if you're on a first-gen Ryzen at this point. It looks like this is a worthwhile upgrade for anybody who's still on first-gen Ryzen. If you're on second-gen Ryzen, then there's a lot to consider because you can get more cores and threads and higher clock speed and better IPC. This is basically the entire package that's coming out to everybody. Ryzen 3000 actually looks like it's going to sweep the floor with everything that's out on the market. And as I mentioned, the 9900K still holds the king crown spot when it comes to single core score and in gaming, but that also is in terms of stock being compared to stock. There really hasn't been that much data coming out about overclock benchmarks versus overclock 9900K benchmarks. So it probably will end up about the same, that once you overclock the 9900K to its 5.2 gigahertz, it's going to still beat Ryzen 3000, but considering the value that you would get from, say, picking up a $300 Ryzen 7 3700X, it would make sense for you to just go with that over the 9900K. It's still the best, but it doesn't mean that it's worth picking up for mostly anybody at this point. So that's all of the information that's out on the internet right now from mostly reliable sources of leaked information on these chips. It again looks like the 3000 series is going to crush when they come out on July 7th, which is the first Sunday major launch that I know of, but AMD had to do it for posterity reasons. 7 nanometers, it makes all of the sense in the world. But I want to hear from you guys. Are you planning on picking up Ryzen 3000? Are you planning on keeping motherboards if you're on first or second gen Ryzen? Are you going to be upgrading from a older Intel or AMD chip? Is this the first CPU that you're considering upgrading to in a while? Is this a yearly or every other year upgrade for you? I want to hear from you down in the comments. Don't forget that this video is brought to you by Honey. Go to joinhoney.com/UFD Tech and get it installed in 2 clicks. Easy peasy, cost you nothing but 2 clicks. Your mouse can handle it. Do it. Thank you, friends. And thank you, Honey, for sponsoring this video. And that's the end of the video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. As I mentioned, we won't have anything out this coming Sunday because AMD doesn't care about South Africa. Therefore, there are no review samples available for South Africa's largest tech YouTube channel. And I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep and use the X570 Tai Chi as my pillow. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Love you too. Bye.
Where's the crying?